grabber tool.
Great, that's just great. But it would be great if you could have a tool that combined all of these three, wouldn't it?
That's crazy talk right there.
It would, because selecting one of these tools at a time using the mouse is time consuming. Pressing the buttons on the function, pressing the function keys requires you to look down at the keyboard. So, and I think you have to do that with a majority of other doors. You can only select one tool at a time or have one modifier that flips between two. Our tool is incredibly versatile. And who's the most versatile of all of us to discuss that? I'm going to go with Anders. Andy?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dave. Anders?
I'm going to go with Andy. No,
this worked well.
I can start it. We're moving the ball around between us here. Okay.
Nobody wants to talk about it.
It's a big hot potato.
No, it's a great tool. So if you have these three little tools here, the trimmer, the selector, and the grabber tool, of course, and around there is like a thick little border. And if you click on that one, or any of the three keyboard shortcuts associated with these F6, F7, F8, 2 or 3 of them will enable the smart tool. And in the top half of the clip, you still have a selector as a standard selector. And of course, you can hold control to scrub back and forth using the scrubber selector. And if you go to the bottom half of the clip, you're actually changing into the grabber tool, which Andy will talk about. So how about the trim tool? Dave, can you still use that in Smart Tool?
Oh, yeah, of course. So if you move to the left-hand clip boundary, when you get close enough to it, the tool will change over to the trim tool. And if you do the same thing on the other side, it'll flip over to the trim tool that side. And just humour me here, is it because the selector tool and the grabber tool are dependent on what half of the clip your cursor is on? But what about the trim tool? Is that all the way up and down? It is.
Almost.
Until you get to the corners.
Until you get to the corners, almost. So how about the grabber tool, Andy? Still same functionality with the grabber tool, just go through the bottom half of the clip, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So it acts just like the grabber tool again with the double clicking to rename tracks and the whole 9 yards. So yeah, so you get all that functionality. Now, one of the things, Anders, that I saw you do is as you were moving to the corners, I saw these square little icons.
That one.
What's up with that?
Yeah, so that's a great feature. That's a fade in tool. So if I click and hold here, as you can see here, I'm creating a fade in on this clip. And you can see in real time how Pro Tools calculates the waveform for how it will actually sound. And of course, if I go up to the right-hand corner, I will get the same fade out tool instead, because that's a clip end, right? And if I have two clips that are adjacent or like next to each other, if overlap, thank you. Yeah. If I go to the point where they overlap in the bottom corner, I get the crossfade too.
Yeah. The clips don't necessarily have to overlap. You can still have two subset clips that are next to each other, just as long as there's enough audio file to be able to make a crossfade.
Yes. Yeah. So if you have two whole file clips that are just adjacent, then there's not enough audio. That's a better way of saying them.
Yeah, and of course, if we really look at this, so if I put my selector in here between, this is the point where they cross and blend. But of course, this waveform needs to extend all the way to here, and this waveform on the right-hand side needs to extend all the way to here for the crossfade to actually happen this way. Because as you can see, the volume is going down from the outgoing clip and going up to the incoming clip.
Now we can edit those fades as well in real time. They're not stuck, are they? So
yeah,
that's right. So you can use the trim tool on the fade.
Oh, how do you do that?
So go to the trim boundary. The fade boundary, sorry, on the right hand side. A bit further over to the right.
Pop it and drag it. So now you can trim a fade. So there are times when I will use the Smart Tool for hours and not realize that I just haven't changed my tools at all, because there's so much that you can do with just this tool.
This is the key to fast editing.
Yeah.
So this is great because I can trim in the fade here, the start point. Where can I do that on the other end?
You can do it on the other end as well.
Sure can. Yep.
Okay. so as you see here, as I get over the border here, I actually get a new little trim tool, which is just trimming the length of the fade in.
Now this one will get your noodle. Move to the left clip boundary. No, clip boundary, not the fade boundary.
Yeah, okay.
Clip, there
like
we go.
This, yeah.
Yeah, but make sure that it's fading, or that it's pointing in, just like it is right now. Now drag it.
Oh, this is nice. You're trimming the clip, but keeping the length of your fade-ins and fade out. That's just genius. Great stuff. Is there another way to edit your fades using the Smart Tool?
You can use the grabber to double click the fade.
Okay, so if I'm here and double clicking it, it will actually open the fade dialog, which gives me a lot of options. But are there other ways as well?
There are, not specifically with the Smart Tool. I mean, the grabber tool will do the same thing. The other thing that you can do is if you drag right over to where you are right now, you'll see that you've got a little bit of a fade icon. Now, by the way, this has nothing to do with Smart Tool. This will happen just whenever you put any icon over that particular area. And now if you go ahead and click and drag, you'll see a yellow kind of line. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I'm in the Smart Tool, this drives me a little bit nuts, because I will be trying to do other things, and I will inadvertently change my fade curve, because I'm a big dumb animal. Right?
Can I sugar cube you? Or maybe you're doing that.
I think I'm going to go there right now.
Yeah, you're going. Okay,
there's well, we can simultaneously sugar cube. If you go up to your preferences and you go into, I believe it's editing. I could be wrong. There you go. Smart Tool Fade Adjustment. Now, right above. There you go. Smart Tool Fade Adjustment. There you go. It's either always on or it requires the Command key. Now, always on, again, drives me nuts, because I'm just not that coordinated. So when you're using the Smart Tool, you can require it to have the Command key. So go ahead and pop that. Now, if you click OK, if you move into the clip, it won't become that fade adjustment icon. So it means you can get to all your other tools really easily. But no, keep the preference on there. Now hold down the Command key. Now you can move it.
Ooh, nice.
Right. So it locks out that functionality until you really need it, which allows me to do other kinds of detailed work, and then you just hold down the Command key, and then no matter where you are in the fade clip, it will turn into that fade adjustment icon.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Do you know there's another way to do this, which is probably not the way that it's thought to be, but there's another way to get rid of these, and that's something that I discovered by accident, I think. If you go set up preferences, and I'll go back to always on here. And these are the default fade settings that Pro Tools create when I'm using the Smart Tool, for instance, to make a fade in. And if I do fade in and I select a non-standard curve, meaning if I select this one instead, it looks exactly the same, right? But it's not the standard shape. And I hit OK, and I'll OK this as well. And now I'll just go to clip that doesn't have a fade, and I'll go in and do the fade in. And now I can't drag the curve.
That's right.
So for this to work, that means that your fade settings need to be standard curves, which is a very important thing, because some people might be looking at this and being like, I can't get this to work, even if it's always on. Take a look at your fade in, fade out, and crossfade settings.
That's a
because
good tip.
This only works if these are standard shapes.
Standard. By the way, standard doesn't mean that it has to be a straight line.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
so
obviously,
you can go in there and you can set whatever fade curve that you want inside of your preferences, and that's what's going to be created automatically when you're creating a fade with the Smart Tool. But as long as you haven't chosen a predefined shape, then you have that ability. So let's go ahead and make it that curve. Great, fantastic, but still great. Standard, right?
Yeah.
And so now, you know what I'm going to do.
So
create for me a fade in.
Yeah.
Now it's got a shape to it, but it's still a standard. So now you can go ahead and click and drag, and you can change it however you want to.
Yes. That's really good stuff.
There you go.
So getting back to my old settings here.
So we can also show that the Smart Tool does everything that the regular tools do as well. If you go back to your screen, Anders, we can just show a couple of things that Andy was doing, such as making a selection of some clip and some space.
Like selecting some space right here.
Just collect some clip and some space.
Yeah, like that.
With the selector tool.
Yeah. That's what I did, right?
No.
Didn't I?
Just a little bit of clip. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
And then go to the grabber tool and then just drag that around. So it's dragging the space around with it.
Yeah.
Actually, in this, there you go with the when you come in with a blank space, it will not copy the blank space, right?
But it does combine the tools. I mean, so you're going to be trimming, grabbing, and moving clips during 90+% of your editing work, and the ability to not have to touch any buttons or click any keys to change, just being able to move from the top to the bottom to the end of a clip, that's gold. It's absolute gold. Now there is one caveat: is if you're zoomed out too far, the position of the function of the tool when you're in the Smart Tool is based upon the pixels of positioning. So if you zoomed way out, you may find it extremely difficult. There you go. There's no way that Anders is going to be able to really control whether it's the selector tool or the trim tool, because it's just zoomed out too far. Conversely, if the track is too narrow, if it's too short, then the difference between the Smart Tool and the grabber tool becomes functionally unusable, right? So this is one of the cases for having knowing how to zoom in, knowing how to zoom out, knowing how to change your track heights. I would say that zoom toggle, which is another great feature that deserves some time. Those are all sibling features that make the Smart Tool even easier to use.
Yeah. Great stuff. So that's a very good look at just the basic editing tools in Pro Tools, the three that you need all the time, and Smart Tool, which combines the functionality of these three and also gives you added functionality.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Well, I hope that was useful for you guys. Even if you've been using Pro Tools for a while, there's likely something in there that you weren't aware of. So again, it is a beginner series, but it doesn't preclude experienced users from benefiting from it as well. So hopefully it was useful to you. So all he's been to say is if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe on Pro Tools Answers. If you like the video, hit the bell icon so you get notified of all the videos that we release. We release weekly, usually on a Sunday, usually at the right time. It's been a little bit difficult recently. Head over to ProToolsAnswers.com. You can subscribe to us over there, and if you fancy supporting us on Patreon, then you can head over to patreon.com/Pro Tools Answers, and we have a few different levels of Patreon support that you can lend to us over there. All that leaves me to say thank you very much to these Smart Tools, Anders and Andy.
You bet.
My name's Dave, and I'm like the simple tool. This is Pro Tools Answers, and we're out.